All right. So, Shamichael Hallman is a civic innovator, author, and thought leader dedicated to strengthening communities through libraries, public engagement, and faith-based initiatives. As director of civic health and economic opportunity at the Urban Libraries Council, he advocates for public libraries as vital civic infrastructure. His book, Meet Me at the Library, explores how libraries foster democracy and bridge building. A sought after speaker, Shamichael has presented at top universities and library associations, with his insights featured by Sightline Institute, America Trends Podcast, and Jefferson Public Radio. He is the co-creator of the Bridge Building Resource Hub, a national initiative hosted by WebJunction that equips libraries with tools to foster community connections. The initiative recently secured a second round of funding to expand its impact and continue its work. Previously, Shamichael championed the multi-million-dollar renovation of the historic Cosset Library in Memphis, contributing to Memphis Public Libraries earning the 2021 National Medal for Museum and Library Science. Holding a master's in nonprofit leadership from the University of Pennsylvania and a 2023 Loeb Fellowship, he continues to innovate at the intersection of community, faith, and democracy. And I'll also add that Shamichael also recently won the library's Movers and Shakers Award too. So I'll go ahead and add that to your bio. And yeah, we're just so excited to have Shamichael with us today. So please join me in welcoming Shamichael.
Thank you, Claire, and to Sophie as well. Really inspired by the work that NC Live has done and continues to do, particularly in this moment where it's so important to uplift and amplify the really incredible work that our public libraries are doing. I'm excited to be with you all, and I got to give a quick shout out to someone who's in the virtual audience. Gypsy Houston. Gypsy has been a longtime friend of me. She's at the Union County Library System. And when I think about people who have helped me sort of help shape and sort of help inform my thinking of the civic and social impact that libraries can have, Gypsy is always at the top there. And so I just want to make sure I shout out Gypsy. I know our time is short here, so I'm gonna hop right in to this presentation and talk about the really important work that I am seeing libraries do as it relates to supporting entrepreneurs and business owners. And this is such a timely topic because one of the things that I am seeing in my research is that so many of our elected officials, regardless of what side of the political aisle they're on, actually really resonate with job development. They resonate with the ways that we can spur innovation in our communities. And we know that there is, in many communities, there's a sort of a growing ecosystem of organizations and institutions that are supporting entrepreneurs. But I believe that libraries play an essential role here. And I know that many of you are doing that work. So what I want to talk about today is not only what that work looks like, particularly for those of you who may not have been engaging in that work yet, but also the very important work in telling the story of that impact. It is so important right now that we are not just doing the work, but that we are capturing the value that we're doing and that we're finding ways to communicate the impact of that value to a variety of stakeholders, whether that is other individuals within the library system, partners, potential partners, funders, and yes, even elected officials. In this moment, it is very, very important. So I want to just kind of over the next few minutes here, talk about some of the really great strategies that I have seen, things that we can take away today in terms of not only supporting entrepreneurs, but also in telling that story. And I want to focus particularly on micro enterprises because I think it is what research is showing us and telling us is that it is one of the most sort of fastest growing industries. So these are businesses with fewer than 5 employees, including the owner, and often they start with very little capital. They are bootstrapping, they are getting some funding from friends and family, maybe small amounts of capital. And we know that people from all ages are actually running these right now. people who are various age, economic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, who see some need in their community, some opportunity in their community, and go and launch a business to meet that need. And they operate on a variety of levels. Some of them are often informal and home-based, driven by community needs. Eventually, these folks do often find a pop-up shop or even their first brick and mortar. One of the interesting things that I saw kind of in looking at the landscape of North Carolina, that 75% of the businesses in North Carolina are actually micro businesses. Nationally, we will see 5 million. We saw 5 million new micro businesses started in 2021. And perhaps the most striking thing is the demographic shift here, where we're seeing women, people of color, and immigrants really leading that work. And again, as we saw coming out of the recession and the Great Resignation, this was actually a time of great reinvention, where people were seeing new ways to meet community needs, to earn a living, to really set themselves up for levels of prosperity. And as we think about the people that we serve in our branches, these are often the very demographic of people who come into our business, into our libraries to get support. And as we are thinking about telling this story, and as we think about sort of capturing the story, one of the things, and we'll talk about this in a little bit later, but thinking about, if not for the library, where else would these individuals go? Folks who are coming to the library to get various resources, to get various help, to launch business, to grow their business. One of the most striking things that I have heard over the last couple of years is a number of entrepreneurs who said, hey, I go to the library to get help because I feel like people aren't going to laugh at me if I don't have all the right terminology. If I don't have the education to be able to use the right words, if I don't have, if I don't know how to ask the right questions, I know that I'm going to find a friendly librarian, library professional who's going to be able to help me out in a way that I might not be able to get anywhere else. And I just want to sort of affirm you all right now as we think about that the people who are coming to you, that these individuals often don't have anywhere else to go. They're not aware of anywhere else to go. The barriers perhaps are a little high for them. And so to be able to come into a library for many folks and get this sort of assistance in launching and building businesses and growing businesses is doing a vital work, not only at the individual level, where people who are saying, wow, that person sees me. When I walk in the library, they see me, they know my name, they offer a helping hand. This is also having a tremendous impact at the community level. As jobs are being created, the local economy grows, and so many other great things come from that. So let's think about some of the things that these aspiring entrepreneurs, these new business owners might actually need. And both in my work with the Memphis Public Library System, but also now as I'm working with libraries kind of at a larger scale, I'm seeing particularly sort of 5 areas where entrepreneurs need some help. And I think it's worth calling this out. Some of you probably already know this, but I want to call this out. The first area is around understanding entrepreneurship. And so this is, some of the more technical things, such as, how do I launch a business? How do I understand if this is the right business to launch based on, my community and the people that are here and their aspirations and their interests. But some of this is actually stepping away from technical and really looking at, how do we cultivate the entrepreneurial mindset? How do we help people develop a curious mindset? How do we help people bounce back from failure? Because anyone who's ever started a business or thought about launching a business, that inevitable part of that is getting a no, right? It's getting no, that's not for me. And being able to help people lean into that and understand that this is just a part of the entrepreneurial journey. And of course, key terminology, spreadsheets and these sorts of things to help people understand, how to talk about capital, how to talk about inventory and these sorts of things. These are things that people actually need. And of course, the different forms of entrepreneurship, that there's not just one single way to go about launching a business. Of course, preparing for the entrepreneurial journey helping people understand their personal readiness. Are they really ready to step out into the world? Are they prepared mentally? Are they prepared financially here? This is a big move for many people. Even the folks who are doing this informally, and who are just sort of testing thing out. This is a big move for people. Helping people with resources, bootstrapping strategies, and then building entrepreneurial networks and support systems. The third area is around creating market opportunity. And so here we think about, again, problem solution fit assessment, right? So, hey, do you really want to start your apparel business if there are 5 million other apparel businesses in the same community? What's going to make yours unique? Is there, it's like what distinguishes you? Is it the material that you're using? Is it the branding? Is it the coloring? What's the thing that really sets you apart? These are things that aspiring entrepreneurs need. Analyzing the industry and the market. And this is going back to what I just said, helping people understand who else is out there who is doing the thing that you're doing. How are they pricing their product or service? How long have they been in business? What are some of their supplier channels? How are they getting their goods and services? And how are they putting those out into the world? And then, of course, developing and testing out a business model. These are some of the things, just a few of the things that aspiring entrepreneurs actually need. I think it's important to, you can look at this list and say, man, this feels very overwhelming. This feels like totally outside of my ball game, of my area of expertise. I'm not really sure if I can support all these things. And the great thing, friends, is that you don't actually have to. Right, that within your community, chances are you are not the only organization that is doing this work. That there are other folks that are out there that are doing the courses, that are helping people, that are providing this information. But you are a key player. Please hear me. Please understand. You are a key player, and I want you to understand that right now, with what you have, not going after any other resources, not going after any other books, not doing anything to your space. Well, what you already have, you can play a pivotal role in supporting entrepreneurs, and you probably already are. Here are 4 areas where I think we can do a lot of good, where I think we can perhaps do the most good. The first area is around the programs and workshops. So we're sort of working on skill building opportunities for entrepreneurs. And as we just said before, this is everything from how to launch your business, how to have this entrepreneurial mindset, what to think about in terms of hiring your first person, developing your product or service in a way that you're constantly improving, enhancing on it. Like, these are all sorts of things that we can do. And for some of us, who have a background, I know many of you who have come from other industries or other sectors and now working in libraries, you might actually have this experience on your own, and you might be able to lead some of those things. If you don't, there are a variety of books and magazines and digital resources that you probably already have in your library right now. And sometimes it's not about you actually leading the program. Sometimes it's about creating and highlighting all of the resources that the library actually has, and just inviting entrepreneurs to come and to engage in sort of a self-paced process there. And I've actually found this to be quite valuable, seeing a number of libraries right now in the US and Canada, actually, who are saying, hey, like, we think that the best place that we can, sort of the best role that we can play right now is actually just being host. It's just, finding a bunch of entrepreneurs, getting out into the community, seeing where they are, and inviting them to come to the library to be amongst other entrepreneurs. And like, that also can be a really great idea for programming. And then, of course, bring in outside partners, whether that's SCORE, other entrepreneurs who are in the community who might want to come in and do a talk around how I built my business. These are all things that can be done relatively light lifts. Of course, the second area is in physical and digital resources. So these are curated materials for business development. So thinking about doing displays around this, not only during kind of key moments throughout the year, Small Business Month, and these sorts of things, but just throughout the year, creating spaces, creating displays that highlight a variety of books from a variety of perspectives about people who are launching different types of businesses, people who are launching food-based businesses, people who are launching apparel-based businesses. people who are building, sort of digital technical startups, right? Just creating the space where people can see the lives and the stories of other entrepreneurs who are out there. Research services, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I think this is, and Claire actually mentioned this, the databases right now are some of the most powerful ways that you can support entrepreneurs. I'm not sure if all of you all know, but there are some really powerful databases that can do a tremendous amount of work for entrepreneurs, that can help them craft out their business plan, that can help them do some of the evaluation and analysis of competitors, that can even help them understand where, if they want to launch a physical like a brick and mortar building, like what part of the city or the community might be the best place to do that. And of course, physical space. Now, I know that some of you have various policies around how your physical space can be used, but to consider what it might be like for people to be able to use some of your space to do, to host meetings, to create. I know some of you have maker spaces and creation spaces, places for people to be able to produce things. And then, of course, I have seen a couple of instances where libraries will often host pop-ups for like, this would not be for one business, but this would be kind of a collection of small business owners who would come to the library or be maybe in the library's courtyard to sell their products and services. I want to dig in a little bit more on this idea of skill building workshops, things that matter. Some of the things that I have seen that are really sort of in demand at libraries, particularly some of the urban libraries that I work with right now. The Resume to Business Plan Night, transform job skills into entrepreneur opportunities. A wonderful program that I saw. Intro to Canva for marketing, right? So Canva, at least the very basic version of it, is free, and you can do a lot of things with this. You can, particularly as you think about social media marketing, flyers, posters, these sorts of things, videos for creation. Canva offers a lot of those resources, and again, it's something that's totally free for folks. I am seeing libraries partner with a number of graphic design individuals or marketing professionals who will come into the library and actually work with patrons on how to create, these various things. Budgeting, right? This is a huge part of budgeting for side hustles, particularly as it relates to helping people understand the importance of keeping their finances in order, taxes and these sorts of things. And then, of course, as I said before, the pop-up event, showcasing local entrepreneurs within the library, something that I'm seeing as a growing trend, and I think gives people a high level of visibility, assuming that your library can actually do that. The meeting room itself is just, again, offers up so many other things that we can do. We talked about the books and the magazines, and then, of course, the databases, reference solutions, Demographics Now, Statista, Gale Business Insights. These are all really amazing, powerful databases that, if you haven't seen yet, and your library does actually have them, would encourage you just to play around with them. Test them out and see what it might be like for you to start to learn a little bit about that. Of course, one of the major areas that people actually need assistance with is capital, right? And of course, this often is far outside of the realm of what libraries can actually do. And so one of the things that I have been really working on and cultivating and trying to understand is, who are, once we as a library, help individuals, establish some of the basic things, get the business idea together, maybe get the business plan together, maybe put together an initial marketing plan, and maybe even a plan to snag that first customer. Where do they go to be able to get the capital that they need? And of course, there are a number of ways that we can do this, right? There are GoFundMe, Kickstarter programs that lots of people use. Of course, the traditional bootstrapping way, of reaching out to friends and family, maybe tapping into some savings if that's there. This organization, Rising Tide Capital, is one of the really amazing organizations that I think at the national level is doing some really, really great work. And some of their programs, they're starting to work more closely with libraries right now. And I'm really encouraged to see the sort of warm handoff that can happen where after a person does get sort of all of the things that the library can offer them, passing them off to someone who could actually then help them get the capital that they need to launch their business. I want to bring this down to the work that I was a part of at Memphis and that is actually still going on. And one of the ways that we discovered, we recognized that there were a number of individuals who particularly young creatives, right? You know, folks who were making soaps and jewelries and apparel businesses and these sorts of things. And these people needed to be able to have ways to tell their story, to be able to talk about their product, their service, why, you know, sort of the why behind the product and service. And we recognized, for us anyway, that we had some staff who could do this, and we certainly did everything that I just told you in terms of putting books out to highlight the resources that we had, tapping into staff who had launched businesses before. But one of the things that worked well for us was the Innovator in Residence program. And what we decided we would do is that we would take a small amount of money, and we actually were able to get this money from our library foundation. Some people have gotten it from their friends or work with an organization or corporation. Able to take a small amount of money and to go out and actually find the experts in the community, who can meet the interest. So, for instance, for us, what we saw was that there was a growing need, a growing interest in podcasting as a business development tool. That people thought, hey, man, if I could launch a podcast to talk about my products and services, if I could launch a podcast to talk about who I am as a business owner, I think that would really increase my sales. And so we used a small amount of money to go out and actually find an individual who was gifted and very talented in this. And her name is Ina Esco, and I'll include a little bit of information about her after the talk. But we brought her in. This was actually with a $5,000 seed gift from our foundation. And over the course of about 6 months, she did a couple of things. She, number one, offered weekly programming. And this was everything from how to tell your story, how to record, your story on using the podcast equipment that the library had, because we actually took a piece of that. Funding and purchased some equipment, and then we took the rest of that and actually used that to give her a stipend. So each week she would do a variety of programs to help people with this sort of the soft skills of resilience and bounce back and sort of creative mindset, but also these technical aspects of how to craft your story, how you find your first sponsor, and these sorts of things. She also then, on top of that, would occasionally do a one-to-one session. So she had a limited number of sessions that happened within the library where individual could get 30 minutes of her time and sit down and really work through something that was happening for them. And then lastly, she would do these sort of big events, these sort of podcast festivals where people would come in, lots of creatives and artists and entrepreneurs would come in and sort of get better about that. And this was really an incredible way of the library partnering with someone in the community who have the knowledge and expertise, who could bring that to the library, actually teach these classes and courses, and actually bring in an audience that maybe the library would not have reached on our own. This woman was known quite well throughout the community. She's an amazing individual. And so having her there not only was a benefit to the entrepreneurs who were coming through, but also a benefit to the library because it was bringing in a number of people. And so we started that program, and we were getting all sorts of entrepreneurs, people who ran travel businesses, folks who were doing apparel, folks who were doing beauty products, who actually told their story, who were able to tell their story through using the library resources, using the podcast equipment the library had, using books and magazines and digital resources that we had, and of course, leveraging and tying into the expertise that was providing. And what happened from that was, this is just a very recent article now. I'm no longer at the library, but this program continues to go on, and Ina is actually still there. It was such a powerful program that we've worked to keep her there. And what you can't see is there at the very bottom that the library has actually just now received a $300,000 grant from the state of Tennessee to continue to do this program, because now the state is recognizing that this is not only something that is helping out from an entrepreneur perspective, it is also developing sort of workforce skills, right? Helping people with, these skills of creativity and innovation and bounce back, and working with others, right? And that it is also, as I said this at the very beginning of the presentation, it is also meeting and serving a group of people who might otherwise not be served, right? And so this grant specifically is calling out individuals who are from under-resourced neighborhoods in Memphis, and helping those individuals get to the library to learn these skills. The great thing about this program, y'all, is that it started at one library system. One library branch. As a part of the Memphis Public Library system, it is now expanding to many, many other branches in the system because of a very small thing that happened. And so I say this to say that I believe the same is true for your community. I believe the same is true for your college campus, that there are individuals who are trying to launch something, or maybe have already launched something. They're just looking for a place to go to get some basic help. And us as library professionals with just a little bit of knowledge and experience can help these individuals. Just using those four things that we talked about earlier in terms of space, equipment, any sort of books, programming, that we can actually help people out lots of ways. And so this is the work that is to be done. This is the work that we have to do. This is the work that many of you are already doing. This is the work that I want to invite you all to do. And so if you are not doing this work right now, if you haven't stepped in yet, I want to just sort of, talk about just, let's figure out how we might make this real. So one thing, let's say that you're not doing this right now. One of the things that you might do is sort of identify potential micro enterprise in your company, in your community. What are you seeing? What are you noticing in your community right now? Is there kind of an upswelling of people who are interested in a particular thing, in technology, in AI, in virtual reality? Maybe it's apparel, right? Maybe it is just, there's a number of people right now who are making a good amount of money just being social media influencers. Like what is the thing that people are growing in or expressing interest in? What are the sorts of books that are being checked out? What are the questions that are being asked at the front desk right now? And then based on that, begin to connect library resources to support those to support that work across those four domains. Once you've identified that sort of area that you want to focus in, then say, okay, what do we have? What are the books that we have? And this is something that I asked every new staff person. I was the branch manager at the Costa Library in Memphis, but every new person who came in and worked at our branch, I make sure that those folks spent some time looking at all of the books that we had. You should be very intimate with the books that are on your shelf. You should be very intimate with the resources that you actually have, so that when people come in, you can actually send them to those resources. And some of those might be in one sort of section of the library. But again, as we have this sort of more expansive view of the various ways that we can serve entrepreneurs and business owners, take a holistic view of all the things that are currently on your shelf. Again, sometimes it can be so tempting to want to go say, hey, if only I had that other thing, if I had that piece of equipment, if I had that piece of hardware, if my library just had this maker space. And yes, it's good to dream and to have aspirations, but I also want to make it clear to you that there are things that you already have in your branch right now, in your library right now, that can be of tremendous impact to folks. Now, here's the thing. Those resources do no good if people don't know about them, right? They do no good if we just sit on those resources. We have to, you all, we have to find ways to make sure that in our community engagement efforts and in our campus engagement efforts, that we're highlighting these things. Of course, like we have to be able to tell people, hey, if you are an entrepreneur, did you know the library has these 25 books on starting a baking business? Did you know our library has a library of things where there's some baking pans that are here? Did you know that we have a research database that can help you craft your business plan? We'll do a party, we'll do an event, we'll do a thing at the library where you can craft that plan in the company of other people. We cannot just sit on these things. We have to be able to get out in front of people and let them know that these are some of the things that the library actually has. Right? You don't have to be an expert. Of course, there are a number of really great organizations out there right now that are offering in-depth training to librarians. We do some things here at the Urban Libraries Council that we'd be happy to talk to you more about. Just be a door opener, right? You don't have to know all the lingo. You don't have to know all of the things. Just be a door opener. And what that might look like, again, is getting out and talking to the community or talking to your campus about the things that you have. Getting out and talking to other people in the community who are also doing the work, other partners, other associations, other organizations that are also doing work to help entrepreneurs. Just be a door opener and think about possibilities. What might it be like for me to go out and in my community talk to the local plumber, the local baker, the local pet care person, right? And ask those people to come to the library to give a talk, to talk about what it looks like for them to be a business owner, and then to invite other people to hear that story, right? It's very things we can do, starting small, one workshop, one vendor that you're bringing in, one flyer that you put up to be able to highlight some of the things that you all have. And of course, I know some of you already sort of know about the Libraries Build Business Playbook that ALA has put out. It's a really great tool as well. What I want you to know is that your library is already equipped to make a difference. Please hear me on that your library already has what it needs to start the process. Of course, you can add more things, but you already have what you need. Now I want to get into this with the last maybe 15 minutes, and we'll move into questions, 15, 20 minutes, is the importance of telling stories. While it's great to do the work, we must be able to communicate the library's value and to be able to demonstrate real economic impact. Claire talked about this in her opening session. These are the stories right now that are needed in our community. Yes, we do great things. Yes, it is great. I wrote a whole book about about the role of the library just as a place where people can show up. Yes, that is great. And we must tell those stories. But there's also very real economic impact that is happening when we host and when we help entrepreneurs out. And we have to be able to capture some of those stories and capture some of that impact. So one of the things that I talk a lot now about is the ways to begin to capture and collect some of these stories. Because if you're just doing the work and no one knows, even within your library, if other staff don't know, if your higher ups, your leadership don't know, and of course, if people in the community don't know, you're missing out on so much, right? And so what are some of the ways that we might begin to collect some of those stories? Well, number one, this is very, very simple, but want to build relationships with your patrons, the folks who are coming in, who are asking about these services, who are picking up the books and these sorts of things. Ask them questions. Of course, I know that privacy is an important thing, and there's only so far that some of us can go. But this is not being like prying into people's business or really being nosy. This is asking people very open-ended questions. Hey, tell me about that book that you got there. Tell me about, like how this book is helping you with your business. Where are you in your business right now? What's one thing that you feel like you need the most right now? Like, if we could host any library program right now that would really help you, like what would it be? These sorts of things are very, very powerful, right? And then also, like, could you tell me about like how you is there anything that you have used, anything in here that you have used that has helped you grow your business or launch your business? Was there one particular book that really inspired you? Was there one particular program that really inspired you to grow or launch your business or to take your business to the next level? And then, of course, as we are having those relationships, we have to pair those with feedback systems, right? So for some people, that might be a survey that happens before a program and after a program, right? And these could be very basic surveys of, hey, before I attended this library program, my skill level, my understanding of this topic was at this level. It was maybe a 1 or 2. And then after coming to the library program, I now think that my skill level is a 7 or 8, right? These are very, very important things to think about. But for other people, it's follow-up emails, right? And so if people are registering for a program that you have at the library, often people will follow up. Librarians will follow up and say, "Hey, thanks for attending this program last night. Talk about how you think this is going to help you grow your business." And of course, hosting events. So I want to just very quickly see how you all are currently capturing stories of the patrons that you serve. And so if you will join my poll, you can either scan the QR code here. You can join on the web link, polleb.com/NC Live. You can also join by text by sending your message to NC Live to 22333. Question I'm wondering is how are you currently capturing the stories of the patrons that you serve? Maybe you are using emails, maybe you're using surveys. I know I saw a library in Ohio recently that had a QR code up in like the business area of the library where people could scan the QR code and leave a little story. Sometimes people are just kind of at the point of checkout, capturing stories. Talk to me about how you are doing that right now. I'm going to stop my screen share just for a moment and just go to that website. It is active right now, and so would love to see. Let me share I'll share the live results of that poll very quickly here. Okay, so we've got Google a QR code to Google form. I think that's brilliant, right? Absolutely brilliant. Let's see here. Okay, so we got Google QR code, patron relationships, library suggestion form on research guides. Absolutely. We do not currently have employees or resources to be able to effectively engage our patrons. Hey, I totally understand that. And so what you might think about is, what are some of those more passive processes? Could you put a QR code up and just assign maybe about some of the business books and just ask people to, scan those things? Someone said we had a pop-up survey on our website that asked people are willing to be shared. Yes, that's great. I love that idea of the pop-up survey on the website. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. That's a really wonderful idea. Print and electronic survey options, beautiful. Passive programming, whiteboard with questions that patrons can answer as they pass by, whiteboard questions. Yeah, so I think what we're seeing here is really a variety of options. So if you have the staff that can engage in that conversation, I think that's probably one of the best ways because you can really sort of in real time capture things. But the suggestion forms and the QR codes and the whiteboard questions are really great ways to be able to do that when you've got limited staffing, you've got limited time. It gives you an opportunity to be able to come back to those stories, right? And as we continue to think about getting more resources, getting more staffing, being able to serve folks for longer periods of time, it is the stories that we tell often that are the driving factor in getting the additional resources. As you saw in the Memphis example, that extra 300,000 came because we were able to tell stories of the people that we were serving. Now, of course, because we have brought in an innovator in residence, she was actually able to capture some of those stories. I want to share with you one tool here that we've been using at the Urban Libraries Council that we're seeing a lot of interest around, and I'm going to be working with the NC Live team to get this in you all's hands. Right now, it is a sort of a member only tool right now, but I want to show you more so right now the stories behind it as opposed to the actual tool itself. I'm going to go back to sharing very quickly as we have about 10 more minutes before we go to questions. So we, in 2022, launched a tool that we call the Business Value Calculator. And this is a resource that supports particularly public libraries, but I think this easily translates to the work of research libraries as well. Hang on, give me 1 second. Let me get to full screen, and then I'll share that again. One second, friends. Looks like I'm having a bit of a challenge there. So just keep it. Yeah. All right. So we launched this tool in 2022, and this was a tool to help libraries calculate their economic impact as it related to supporting entrepreneurs and small business owners. And what we did here was we asked people to capture across those four domains that I talked about before, across programming, across research services, across equipment, across physical space. We asked people to give us real numbers, of all the programs that you did that were that were about entrepreneurship, that were in aid or to aid and to help entrepreneurs. Tell me about the number of people that came to those programs. And then we said, hey, for those programs, if the person could not, if it were not for the library and that individual, that patron had to go somewhere else in the community and actually pay for that service, like how much would that be? And we used national averages to put a number to it. We did the same thing with the books. So all of the books that were in the library that were geared towards entrepreneurs. Okay, if someone couldn't come into the library and check this book out, they had to go to Amazon and had to go to the local bookstore and actually purchase that book. How much would that cost? In terms of physical space, particularly for those of you who do have some sort of maker space or co-working space or just space where entrepreneurs are using to grow their business. Now, I know everyone's not capturing level at that detail, but some people are. And so we asked people, hey, how many people are actually using your space? And they gave us that number. So, okay, well, hey, if they could not come to the library, they had to go to a WeWork or some co-working or maker space in the community. What would that be? And of course, that number we know for those of us who are in communities where there is a maker space or a co-working space, that number can be, $40-$50 a month just to have just to be able to come in and take a seat. You don't even have a dedicated space. Just come in anywhere and find a seat to, hundreds of dollars if you actually want to have a dedicated a workspace. And so we took all of those numbers and plugged them in, and then we got out an actual number. We got an actual number that people could use. And some of these numbers are really, really amazing. So we talked to a handful of libraries this year that we've been looking at, Johnson County and the Kansas City Public Library. Both of those are in the Kansas City area. Memphis Public Library, the Mid-Continent Public Library is also in the Kansas region. Milwaukee, Palm Beach, and Salt Lake County. And I want you to look over here at some of the impact here. We've got numbers that, again, this is just supporting entrepreneurs. And this is just across those four domains of anywhere from a couple $100,000 of economic impact to what we see Kansas City Public Library in the $3 million range to the Mid-Continent Public Library to almost $7 million. Again, this is just people who are looking across those four domains, capturing all of the number of people who are showing up to a program, who are going to an event for entrepreneurs, who are checking out a book, who are using a space, who are using the 3D printer, who are using the heat press, who are sitting in the building to conduct their business, right? And we're getting some really, really amazing numbers. And not only are we getting the numbers, friends, not only are we getting real numbers, we're also putting stories behind that. So let's take a look at the Jackson County Public Library here in Oregon. Say one patron used their services to establish a new emergency veterinary practice in the region. They indicated that the library's help with accessing databases such as SWOT reports, the peer-reviewed business journals, and demographic information helped them establish their practice on quantifiable information over just qualitative information. We look at the Johnson County Library System, $2 million of economic impact in Kansas. The library provides spaces, technology, and resources to entrepreneurs in Johnson County. From free conference rooms to a maker space, they offer unique tools to help businesses thrive, right? These are some of the things that are happening. I want to go down and talk about this one particular story, and then I'm going to stop. And this actually came from the San Diego Public Library. You can see their value across technology and equipment, research services, training, physical space was just over $1.7 million. So something very interesting is happening here. They've got 36 branches. Of course, this is a much larger library system, but I don't want you to get caught up on the size of the system. I just want you to get caught up. I want you to sort of think about, again, how the library used some of its existing resources. So the San Diego Public Library offers robust entrepreneurship and business services through their startup. This is a free resource hub and workshop located at the Central Library that opened up last year. And here's this really, really amazing story. It says former Navy officers Matt Semple and Andy Kemp transformed a common deployment frustration into an innovative product thanks to the business resource at the San Diego Public Library. While serving aboard the USS Jason Dunham, they designed the Razor Rinser, a compact device that cleans disposable razors with ease. When they relocated to San Diego, they discovered the library's free makerspace where they used 3D printers and laser cutters to build their prototype. Look at there. This happened at the library. And then with additional guidance from the library, now San Diego is one of the, I think, rare places that actually offers patent and trademark a resource center in the library. Semple and Kemp navigated the complexities of patenting their invention, and then ultimately launched a Kickstarter program that raised nearly $70,000. I'm going to stop there. I'm not showing you this to brag on these libraries. Please don't get me wrong there. I'm not showing you this so that you can go and do exactly what those libraries are doing, because what works in one community might not work in another community. It might not even be needed in a community. I'm showing you this to say that there are resources already in your library that people are using. There are programs that you're already hosting that folks are attending, and that this is actually having a very real economic impact right now in your community. And it is going to be important for you to find ways to capture stories. And then once you have those stories, to then assign economic impact to that you can go out then and talk to all of the various stakeholders in your community. As you're looking for more support, as you're looking for more resources, these are the types of stories that you have to tell that will resonate with audiences. Now, I've got more here, but I'm going to stop here. I could go on, but I do want to make sure that there is time for us to have conversation with each other. I will share my slide deck with you all that has some more information about how you can begin to capture some of those stories, then how you can transform those stories into impact. And I will share my very last slide actually, because this I think is important. And Sophie, we talked about this, and it is this idea of using the if but for statement, right? And so what you do here is think about then, okay, what do you already have? What workshops are already happening? What programs are already happening? What resources are already available? How is your space in terms of what's available right now? How is it being already utilized by entrepreneurs or business owners, right? And then you begin to sort of craft this if but for statement, where you say things like, okay, if not for the libraries providing free access to this database, entrepreneurs in our community would need to spend at least $245 to generate a $5,000 mailing list through commercial platforms like directmail.com. But for the library, many small business owners, especially those starting out, would be unable to afford targeted outreach, limiting their ability to grow and compete in the community. Now, think about how strong that statement is. Think about what it would look like for you tomorrow or next month to be able to go and stand squarely in front of your city council and say, if not for the library and the resources that we have and the ways that we're serving entrepreneurs, there would be no other place for people to go. That is an argument that's going to be very hard for elected officials to be able to turn down. It's going to be very hard for potential partners to turn down. And so I want to encourage you to be able to tell stories like this. Again, I will share the slide deck that's got some additional examples there for you. I'll open up for questions. Let's talk. Let's dive in.
Wow, thank you so much, Shamichael. That was really powerful hearing all of that. And yeah, really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for sharing. We do have a few questions that have come in. First one, Lisa Coates says her father was the director of the Cossett Library in the 80s, the
Oh, wow.
1980s.
What
So
about that?
yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Um, And then we have a question from Nia. She says, "What programs have you seen effective for business-minded people? We are an academic library with a business program."
Oh, that's great. I think that's a wonderful that you have that program. I want you to sort of remember some of the things that we talked about in that third slide and I'll bring this back up very quickly because I think these are, you know, my graduate work is around social impact, and so I work with a number of social entrepreneurs throughout the country and beyond, actually, and this is actually where I'm pulling that list from. Uh, Things that I often hear from them. So I think a lot about you said business minded folks, and so when I hear that word, I think about people who maybe have not started a business yet, or maybe they've just put one toe into the water. It's a scary journey, right? Particularly if there's no one else in your family that's ever done ever gone down that path before, and if you don't know any entrepreneurs, stepping into that space alone is a very scary place to be. And so this idea of sort of personal readiness, helping a person, fully understand like what it takes to be able to step into that place, right, would be very helpful. Connecting people with other entrepreneurs, I cannot stress, how important that is. That particularly on campus, if you're able to find other folks who have already launched out into the deep and they are doing the work, sometimes just being a place where not necessarily you're doing the program, but just providing the space where these people can come together and talk and exchange knowledge is so important. I think about sort of creating market opportunity. I think this is really important. That often people, they have this really wonderful idea and they're ready to go out and just jump right into that idea without having done some research. And I don't know any of us who would ever embark on any sort of endeavor, whether that's buying a car or buying a house or, wanting to go back to school. None of us would hop into any sort of major decision without doing a little bit of homework first, right? And I think the same is the case for entrepreneurship and being able to help people understand, okay, let me help you understand how some of the current library resources, some of the current databases we have can help you understand who are the other people in the community who are also have a business just like yours. What sort of money are these people making? So, and from there we can help you understand like what's realistic idea of what you might be able to make. Let's look at how these people are pricing their product. There are so many entrepreneurs who I've seen this personally, who when they first start out severely underprice their product because sometimes it's coming from kind of a low self-esteem issue or not even sort of understanding of where they should be. And of course, we don't want people to put, highly inflate stuff, but there's so many people who lose out on potential earnings because they underprice themselves. And these are things that we can use library resources for to actually help people get a better gauge of where they should be pricing their products.
All
Other
right.
questions?
We had a question about the report you talked about, and this person says, "Where can I get a copy?" I know you said the report was for the members of the Urban Library Council, but you said there were some examples in the slide deck. Uh,
Yes.
and so maybe just us sharing the slide deck out with people would be the best.
Yes, I can give you the slide deck and the report. Actually, the
Oh,
report
okay.
is actually public. The tool itself is behind
Oh, okay.
our member wall, but I've got some exciting developments there, Claire, that I want to talk to you afterwards about. I think we can get this in the hands of folks who actually want it.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Wonderful.
for us, we know this is an important time for us to be able to talk about, be able to capture, be able to communicate the value that we're creating right now.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Yeah, that would be great. I know in the slide that you showed there was that example specifically for data axle, which is great because we provide data axle
Yeah.
to all of our libraries. And I guess that's one of my questions too, is when you talk about calculating what is the cost that someone would need to pay for a similar resource if they didn't get it through their library. Do you have a good way to find those like alternate paid resources that people would be using if not for their library? Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We can certainly. Some of that is listed in this report. Some of the other ones are actually in the tool itself. But I will certainly get some of those resources to you. I mean, I think about particularly for Data Axle and some of the things that you can do there. I think about I'm trying to think about the. It's going to come to me in a minute. There's one particular website that a lot of folks go to, and I believe at the time I looked at it, it was about $300 to be able to access that site. But I will find that specific one and make sure that it's included.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking for NC Live's own interests. I'm like, oh, that would be great to be able to provide that stat to our, stakeholders and yeah, to be able to say NC Live provides this to 200 plus libraries in the state, and normally it would cost this much for people. So,
For sure, and I think maybe kind of closely tied to that, if you were, and this is the work that I think we are having to engage in at UOC right now, but if you could somehow, working with the technology department for each of your members, be able to understand how many times that was accessed, right? Like how many
yeah.
times patrons use those, touch those to download a report, to research some things. Then you've got an even larger number of saying, "Hey, statewide, here's some stuff that we're actually
Right,
doing
right,
at that level."
exactly. And yeah, we have that usage through our usage stats.
Yeah.
So yeah, very powerful. All right, we have a question, probably just time for one more from Gypsy, who says, how do these concepts look when applying to/for nonprofits?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that there are many of the sort of similar things, and I'm not sure, Claire, if you all offer. There is one particular database. My mind is just freezing up on me right now. That provides access to funding opportunities. So it will help you. It's like a Morningstar, GuideStar. My brain is just freezing on me.
Yeah, I think I know which one. I don't think we have that, but is it
Okay.
like a nonprofit
It
database?
is. It is. It is. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So similar work there. I think what a number of those databases will do. Everybody wants to start a nonprofit. It seems like I know in my community, in my little town where I grew up in, everybody wanted a nonprofit, right? And I'm like, hey, I think, hey, if that's where your heart's desire is, then that's great. But there are a number of challenges in the nonprofit space. Uh, Often people have no idea about board development and creating a robust board and what's needed behind that. And so, if there are library resources that can help people understand, how do I form my first board? Who should I be looking for? How do I put together sort of bylaws for that, right? Books about that, any sort of LinkedIn learning, any sort of things like that that will help people. As we think about writing grant proposals, right? What is it like to write a really sharp grant proposal? That's something that is very much in need. Um, these are the sort of things that you would be thinking about. And again, for those particular nonprofit databases, if library doesn't have those and the patron has to buy it on their own, those are fairly expensive.
Yeah, great. And we have a couple of comments that maybe it was Foundation Directory Online or
Yes,
Candid.
that's it. It's Candid. It's Candid actually.
Candid. Okay. Okay. Great. Well, I think we're at time. So, yeah, thank you so much again. I wish we could all like give you a round of applause, but it's virtual. So we'll give you a virtual round of applause.
Thank
And
you all.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciated having you and learning from you. So yeah, and we'll have this for everyone virtual. We will have this recording on our YouTube channel, and we will also share out the materials that Shamichael mentioned. So
Perfect.
yeah, thank you again.
Thank you
And
for having me.